Hello, and welcome back to the Girl vs. Life podcast. My name is Sheryl. I'm your host, and this is an offshoot of my Girl vs. Planet YouTube channel. So if you want to subscribe there, you can watch the videos and also listen to the podcast as well on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So today we are going to be talking about friendships that come from or that start from pop culture fandoms. And I have my very first guest today. I'm very excited. This is my friend Stephanie, and we actually met through fandom, kind of several different fandoms, if you want to talk about it like that. But yeah, if you want to just introduce yourself, whatever you want to tell about yourself or not tell about yourself, and just kind of maybe your version of how we met, how we found each other.
Okay. Well, I'm Stephanie, as she said. And we met through basically the Tom Hiddleston fandom. He was going to be at a convention. What were those called? Those conventions you went and met him
Ace
on.
Comic-Con?
Ace
Yeah.
Comic-Cons. Which I don't even know if they're a thing anymore, but I was just trolling. Well, trolling might be a bad word. I was in Twitter, because I refuse to call it the new name, it's Twitter. I was on Twitter looking for people who were at the show, who were meeting him to see like their pictures with him and stuff like that. And I believe that's how I found you, was just like doing a search in Twitter and saw that you were there. And I think it was before you had actually met him that day. Or maybe
Was
you
it?
posted your picture.
I think it was
maybe
before. I think
Yeah,
it was before. I think you're right.
you actually met him, and I got invested, and I was like, oh, I want to hear what it's like afterwards. I want to know what he's like. And we corresponded on Twitter. We replied to the post, and then it turned into direct messages very shortly after that. I don't think it was maybe a day later.
Yeah.
We switched, and we went to direct messages, and because I remember we started talking about him and what it was like meeting him, and how I was jealous because, of course.
Yeah, I think it was before because it was good for me because I was going by myself. And so I needed somebody to go back and forth with to talk about it because I wasn't going to know anybody there. I didn't know anybody there at the time.
I don't remember. I don't think you were. Maybe were you in line to meet him at the time, or you were going to be meeting in the next? I don't remember if it was the first day or the second day of the con you met him, but I remember getting the picture. You might have even sent me the picture.
I think I did.
Via like direct message, and gave me a little backstory, and it just kind of went from there. And then we continued to talk through like your travel back home. And I remember you talking about after that, it was like whenever you traveled, you would talk about places that you went to eat. And I had this really good food or this really good beer. And we just started getting to know each other. That was back in 2018?
2017 or 18. Yeah, probably somewhere in there. I know.
I think it was 2018 because I think that was the year my mom passed, and I think it was just a few months later. So I feel like it was June of 2018, if I remember correctly. I could probably look it up. But
that sounds right, because I think it was in June, and I know that I lived in Florida. So I think I think you're right. It was and that was like a long trip at the time. Because I was thinking about that Comic-Con, and it was in Seattle, and that was like from Florida to Seattle was like,
because you did Seattle first, and then the Chicago one was after that. I think the Chicago one is where you did him and Evans, if I remember correctly.
Yes, yeah. Because my friend Nina, who another fandom friend, since we're going to get into that.
I know her too.
I met Nina. Yeah, I met her through the X-Files David Duchovny fandom, kind of through other friends, because he was doing concerts. And some friends that I had met at another Comic-Con, a bunch of people got together, and he did like kind of it was kind of like a Kickstarter thing, and you could fund a private concert with him with like up to 100 people, and like 100 people, my friends got 100 people to go in together to pay for this private concert, and she was one of the people that went into New York for the private concert, which I had.
That's fun.
Yeah, I did. I wasn't going to do that. And I decided to last minute mostly because I had so many other friends that I had met through that fandom that were going, and I just wanted to see people. So yeah, so that's how we met originally, online through Twitter, and we started talking. And then I lived in Florida at the time.
I think we pretty quickly exchanged phone numbers and it turned to text, because I remember explaining to my husband who I was talking to, and when I got to how I met you, and he was like, okay, so you were stalking Tom Hiddleston and you met her. Like, it's not stalking. Like, that was the big thing with back when I met you. Is
Yeah.
I'm like, I would stalk. You'd have to know where the man is all the time, and I don't. So I don't.
Yeah. No. Yeah. You just.
And
Yeah.
it turned to text, and then we just kind of got talking and got to know each other. And it's one of those unexplainable things, because I have other friends that I've met through other fandoms. And not every person I met in other fandoms do I have the same relationships with, but there are ones that you just get close. It's like unexplainable. It's just you connect. We just kind of connected first with the fandom, and then just kind of on another level, and then it just became,
Yeah, because I think the
deeper.
cool thing was that I ended up moving. I was in Florida when we met, and then moved to California, and it was only like 2 hours from where you live at the time.
Santa Rosa.
And
That's right.
so,
So you did Florida.
yeah, when I lived in, Florida
Keeping
to Santa
track of
Rosa.
all the places that you've gone.
Yeah. So that ended up really cool because that gave us the opportunity to meet in person. And I think that friends through fandom, it's easier to stay connected because you have that fandom, and especially if there's something going on with it all the time. Like we constantly talk about. So the reason that we're meeting today is because we wanted to watch season 2 of The Night Manager together with Tom Hiddleston, which is what started us talking. And we watched.
It still connects us today.
Yeah, it does. Because we met today to watch The Night Manager together over video. Yeah, that was a show that we had talked about that had Tom Hiddleston in it, and they're releasing a season 2 years later. Was it 10? We decided it was 10 years ago? Yeah, 10 years later.
2016 was the first season. Yeah.
It's so crazy.
When we met, it was like at the height of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. First time we met face to face. We went and saw, that was Avengers Endgame, right? Was our first time we met
I think it was. Yeah.
And so that was perfect. And we went to go see that together because that was basically, I think Endgame was kind of the end of that.
Yeah.
Of the cinematic universe, but it was big at the time.
Phase 1 or 2 or whatever. Yeah.
Whatever the phases are. Yeah. So that was
whatever they call it. Yeah. So that was a good opportunity, a good excuse to use to meet in person, because I drove out. We kind of met halfway and we got to meet in person, and we got to go see Avengers Endgame, together, which was really cool.
It was like in Sunnyvale at the time, which was, halfway between Santa Rosa and here in Stockton.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So it just kind of worked out.
Yeah. So we went to see that together, and then we continued connecting because we did things like...
You came here.
Well, first of all,
you did a weekend
I came to
here.
visit. Yeah, I did a weekend at your house. And then later, after when there were wildfires where I lived, and I had to evacuate, my husband Ricky had never met her before. And we ended up going to their house and stayed at their house for a few days because we had to evacuate the wildfires. So
for the wildfires,
that brought us closer, I think.
Yeah,
this random person all of a sudden staying in your house. Yeah, it was like 3 or 4 days. Yeah.
It was like 3 or 4 days. And I can't remember if you did one weekend here before that, or you've done 2 weekends here, 2 weekend
I think
trips.
So. Yeah, I think a couple
times. And I don't remember
if
both were before the evacuation stay or if it was one before, one after.
I don't remember either.
So we hadn't had very much in-person time, but it was a no-brainer because, even my husband, who will typically get like having somebody that he doesn't know, but when somebody's in that situation, like, you don't hesitate. It's like, well, they're getting evacuated.
And
I'm like, they don't
appreciated
really,
it.
They basically don't know anybody here,
Right.
Because they just moved over from Florida how many months before that? And so.
Right. And how are you supposed to know somebody? Like, because if you know somebody, it's like most of the people we know were also in Santa Rosa and also had to evacuate. So we had to find somebody that was close, but not super close
That was
because they would be
that was gonna be
evacuating
my
too.
next
Yeah.
point. That's basically all you had time for at that point was to meet people locally, but then everybody's got to
Yeah.
go. So I was the one
Right.
person and I wasn't too far away. It wasn't like, well, the only
Yeah.
person I know is down in LA. So at least I was only
Yeah.
about 2 hours away.
Yeah.
Um, so it wasn't, that was, what year was that? That was before COVID?
It was right after we got married, so it would have been 2019.
Yeah, okay. It was just before COVID hit. Because then,
Mm-hmm.
like, after that, I think I saw you one more time after that, and then we didn't see each other again because of COVID until, like, was it 2021 or 2022 where we met up
Something like
and we did
that.
Epidemic Brewery and whatever the other breweries that you guys took us to.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It was a
So
while
I mean,
there
we've
because,
continued. Yeah. I think it's funny to me because I think that the fandom, like having friends from being a fan of something is cool because it helps you stay connected. Because if there's stuff going on with like the actor that you like or the movies or the series or whatever, then you kind of like text each other to talk about that, or like we're
right.
doing today, like
And
watching
at
Night
some
Manager
point, yeah.
together.
And at some point, if you're lucky enough to get to the point in the friendship that we are where it's not just solely based on the fandom anymore, like you'll talk you can connect on other things too,
Yeah, yeah, for
like
sure.
because, well, I mean, now we're both into Pedro Pascal, so we connect on that fandom.
We've connected on
But
multiple fandoms.
but
Yeah, because we're both like
Star
it's like you
Wars,
said, yeah,
Disney,
Star
yeah.
Wars. Yeah. Yeah, and we've it's been a good way to stay connected because then we like to go to Disneyland. And like I've
Mm-hmm.
moved farther away. I'm more than 2 hours away now because I'm in Southern California and she's closer to Northern California. Or you're closer to Northern California, but we both like to go to Disneyland. So when one of us is going to Disneyland, we'll tell the other one, and then maybe sometimes it might be a good excuse to go to Disneyland, which we're
Yeah.
doing again next month, which just happened. We
Yes.
happen to be both going at the same time, so we'll get
In
to see each other
February, yeah.
again. But
Totally
yeah,
by chance. Not even planned, but that's
yeah,
cool. So, but yeah, keeping up with the friendship at the distance these days is not too hard because you have to text the video chats. And like you said, we have the second season of Night Manager came out, and because that was Tom is still kind of our thing, so I was like, oh, this
yeah,
seems like the no-brainer. Should watch this with Cheryl.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, definitely.
but yeah, it was like it
Yeah.
kept the video stuff and it kept us linked during COVID when nothing was in person.
Yeah,
We did
I
movie
was gonna
watch like
mention
every
that.
weekend. Yeah.
Yeah.
Several of the other girls you met through Duchovny.
Yeah. Yeah, that was cool because so during COVID, everybody was stuck at home. And so I started doing like a weekly kind of a movie watch on Saturday, I think it was,
Yeah, it was
where
Saturday or
we started
Sunday, I don't
watching the
remember.
MCU. I think we started watching the MCU movies. And
Yep, it was the Marvel movie watch or something like that. Yeah.
yeah,
Watch
just
party.
different friends that I had. A lot of them were from different fandoms and stuff. And we would just do like a Zoom and we would all start the movie at the same time. This was like before things like Teleparty and stuff like that. So we would start the
Mm-hmm.
movie at the same time and just all kind of sit there and like talk or chat or whatever while we watched the movie together. And I think that helped me get through COVID. I think
Yeah.
there were other people that seemed to enjoy it too. It turned out it went on for like a while. We made it through all of the MCU, I think.
Yeah.
So
That's how
yeah, that was fun.
I met Nina. Well, I knew about Nina through Hiddleston because you did Chicago with her. But basically, how I met Nina, Michelle, and Steph, and Larice, and Kathy. There were some other girls that used to watch with it. Wendy, I think Wendy was one of them.
Yeah, yeah. Wendy
And
went with
Teresa
me.
once in a while.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Which are a lot of them. So I met a lot of them through the X-Files David Duchovny fandom.
Mm-hmm.
Which that was a big one for me because back in 2016, other than like Star Wars, and I had been to Star Wars Celebration before, that was kind of the first Comic-Con that I went to and met any of the actors because I was a big X-Files fan in the 90s. David Duchovny and Gillian Anderson started doing events and Comic-Cons and stuff like that. And so they were all at this convention in Chicago. And I went to that and I met a lot of those people there, Laurice, and did I meet, I think Kathy there, but Kathy, and I might have met Kathy later. That might have been later on after I'd met several people at this convention in 2016. I stayed in touch with them. And then David Duchovny did yes, I met her in 2016 at the David Duchovny, at the convention. That one was a Wizard World. That was like Wizard World Chicago, I think. And all of these people I still, for the most part, stay in good touch with. Michelle and I talk almost every day or through like text, and I've visited her a couple of times. She lives in Massachusetts.
Fancy phone.
Fancy phone. That's what she got, Michelle, like a new phone, and that's what she named it. Fancy phone, yeah.
That's how she showed up on Zoom. It just said fancy phone, so that's...
Said fancy phone, yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I have... A lot of the people that joined in for the Zoom calls, for the Zoom movie watching were that. And then I met more people when those of us that met at that 2016 Comic-Con, Laurice and Walt they rented a van, and David Duchovny did a tour in like New York and like Boston and some other places on the East Coast. And they rented a van, and a bunch of us all kind of just like, we stayed at their house, we stayed at hotels and stuff, and we just kind of went around in the van and went to it was like 5 concerts that we went to, I think.
That's cool.
That was a lot of fun. And I remember, I don't know why I didn't think anything of it. I mean, Ricky was like, you stayed at people's houses that you don't really know very well. And I'm like, I didn't really think about it at the time. And I was like, it worked out fine. And it was fun. We all had a lot of fun.
You just kind of go with it. You're just having fun.
And... Yeah. That was, that Comic-Con was, like kind of life-changing because I made so many friends through that, and then later through them, and then it just kind of piggybacked. And I feel like you kind of almost came out of that too, because when I went to that convention in Seattle, I went by myself, but
I remember that.
Nina and I had met through David Duchovny, and I was trying to convince her to go with me, and she couldn't at the time because she really wanted to meet him too. And I think Chris Evans was originally going to that Comic-Con too, and so she really wanted to meet him. But I think he
was
canceled.
At Seattle? I think so, because...
He wasn't there the first time.
Yeah. You didn't meet him
the first time I went,
Chicago.
he wasn't. Yeah. He was supposed to be there, and then he canceled like last minute.
You met some other guys from Marvel, I think, but not Evans at that first one.
Yeah, not him at the first one. I wish I had taken the time to meet... I wasn't 100% into Marvel or the MCU yet, and I wish now that I had taken the time to meet Tom Holland, because he was at that one, and I have not met him yet. But he was at that one, so I wish I had taken the time to meet him.
I didn't remember.
I think I did go to his panel, but yeah. I met...
There was more at Chicago, because I think Chicago was Elizabeth Olsen, right? You did not only the picture with Evans and Hiddleston, but Elizabeth Olsen.
Yes.
And did you meet Mackie?
Oh, he was there, but I didn't do a picture or anything with him. I was at his
Sebastian
panel. Sebastian Stan, I did. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
And what's his name? He played Vision, and he was also in the Han Solo movie.
Paul Bettany.
Yes. I was like, I know his picture's over there somewhere.
Oh, I see him on the wall behind you now. I wasn't paying attention. I see him.
No, I think
those
are
the blue backgrounds.
Oh, you might be able to see them. Yeah, they're over there. I don't know if people can see them in the video because it's shrunk down, but the people behind me is some X-Files.
Blue background.
This is X-Files.
Okay, I see blue backgrounds that are pro photo ops from conventions. That's all I know.
Yes.
And then by the door behind you, there's one up there with a blue background right up, like towards the top of the door. And then the one below it might be your Jeff Goldblum. Maybe that's your Jeff Goldblum poster in the dark frame.
It probably is. Yeah. Yes. By the Star Wars sign. Yeah, that's Jeff Goldblum.
I can see like this much of it.
Yep. And then
but
all
those
my
of us
Star
that
Wars
go to
ones are in
cons,
front of me
we
over
know
here.
that background.
Yeah. All of the Ace Comic-Cons all had that same blue background. And actually the Star Wars Celebration ones, a lot of those have the, similar. So let's see. What else should we cover?
Let's see. We covered the distance, and we covered...
I think this is an interesting question, because this is not something that, like, when I meet people in person, like just in general, like local friends, it usually comes out eventually that, I've gone to Comic-Cons, and I like to show off my celebrity pictures and everything. But this was like a topic of conversation that I had written down was, why do you think people underestimate how meaningful like fandoms can be? Which is true, because I have friends that I don't really talk about this with. But then I also have so many fandom friends that I obviously do talk about this with.
And
So I
I've
don't
talked
know.
about this with my good friends that I met through New Kids on the Block. We've talked about this actually. We've talked about this topic about why other people kind of tend to not devalue it, but they, like you said, they don't take it as seriously. Like maybe they've never had something that they've been that big a fan with, or maybe they're somebody that doesn't make friends as easily, or they had a bad experience. Maybe that's why some people are like that. Myself personally, it is a chance you take meeting anyone on the internet because you don't really know who you're meeting on the internet. But
Yeah,
I've gotten lucky. I've gotten lucky. I can think
same.
of like one person through New Kids fandom I met that I didn't stay into touch with because she just wasn't a good person. But ever and like even with New Kids, I have my core group of there's four of us, there's three other girls, and they've become some of my best friends. Just as like you have, supported me through when my mom passed and my dad passed and all the things that happened, and we're open, we talk to each other about everything like you and I do. There's just when you connect with somebody, you connect. And I think I think people do put too much emphasis on how you met. Like who cares how we met?
Yeah.
We found a common ground, a common interest, and we bonded over that. And then a friendship grew out of it. So
Yeah. I tend to think that everybody has something that they're into. If it's not
hmm
like Ricky calls me a nerd because jokingly, because I'm into like Star Wars and Marvel and, all of that. But everybody, like, he's into, I think that's one reason he and I work well together is because we have things that we are both into and we have things that individually we are into. And we are both totally fine like doing things together. Like we travel together and we're both into beer and we're both into electronic dance music and all of that. And so we have plenty of stuff that we can do together. But then having separate interests and having the openness to allow the other person to, be involved in their own interest as well. Like I think that's good because it's a good balance because he's into golf and stuff like that. And he's very into, his like conferences that he goes to and everything for his work and for club management and stuff like that. And I obviously he has zero interest in going to the Comic Cons with me or to Disneyland with me, but that's fine because that gives me an opportunity to pursue my own interests and meet other people and make other friends. And I feel like everybody needs that. So I think
yep,
that that's good as well.
Matt and I are kind of like that. We have more interests alike than we do not alike. But he has like his things. It's Star Wars, but it's this X-wing miniatures game that he plays, and he goes one day a week on Wednesdays and goes to play that with some buddies of his. And so that's his little thing that he has. I do things with friends once in a while. I don't not very often. Every few months or so, maybe I'll have a day out or a night out with friends.
But you
I'm
do
not a
have your events
socialist.
like you go on
Yeah,
the New Kids on the Block concert or, whatever,
yeah.
you have
Might
friends
be
that you
might be
connect
going to
with and do
Vegas.
trips with. There you go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
might be going to Vegas again this summer because my friend who lives in Florida is actually going to come out this time. So we're talking about that. But and we're pretty good about keeping trips cheap. We know how to do things on a budget. I can it's a whole spectrum for me. I can do it on a budget or I can do it kind of bougie. I don't go all the way up to super bougie because I may make good money, but it's not necessary for me. Like the times I've been to Hollywood and we drove down Rodeo Drive, through Rodeo Drive. I'm like, I wouldn't shop anywhere here.
Oh, yeah, me neither.
I wouldn't, I don't care about Coach and Louis Vuitton and, Dolce
Yeah,
Gabbana. Like,
same.
I don't, it's expensive brands for what? And a lot of it's not even attractive. I'm happy with my
Yeah.
lounge flies that are cute. But anyways, that's off topic. Yeah, the interests, we do most things together. We both love Disneyland and Star Wars and Marvel and doing conventions and we love comedy shows and baseball games. And so we've got that going for us. But I mean, I we're different that way. We're different that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because probably know more married couples that are kind of like you and Ricky, where they have, a number of things they like to do together, but then they have other interests that they do separately. So it's either way is works, whatever.
I think because there's like, we have friends that are into like cars and fixing up cars. And obviously, Ricky's into golf. And so he has golf friends. And I think that it may not, I mean, unless it's among the fandom people, it's not necessarily as talked about amongst other people, but it's just like any other interest.
Right.
It's literally just the same thing. And, I mean, anybody that's judging it or thinking that I'm a nerd because of it, I think that's silly because it's not any different than any other interest. It's pop culture,
Right. It's just,
and it makes for, there's so many, like, it makes for great topics of conversation. It makes it easy to do trips together because there's like a Comic-Con or a concert or whatever. And I have friends that have, I mean, I have traveled with other friends for things that are not fandom related, like when I went to see Michelle. And, it's nice. Fandom is great because I love that you can connect with people on the internet. And then if people travel enough, like Ricky and I, when we first went on our first kind of overseas trip together, we did the very like stereotypical, we went to London, Paris, and Rome. And we didn't know anybody over there. That was 2012, I think. Yes, 2012. And now we travel internationally every year. And almost always, 99% of the time, I'm trying to think if there's been any trips in the last few years that we've gone on where we actually
you guys
did
have
not
been
know
all
somebody.
over.
Well, and we know somebody everywhere we go. Like it's when we went to this year, we went to Greece and a couple other places, and we know somebody everywhere. When we went to Australia last year, I was working with people that lived in Australia.
I was just going to ask that when that was, because I was
never met
you
them.
just went out there. Yeah.
Yeah, I had never met them before. And this gave me the opportunity to meet them, which was really cool. And it meant something to the people that I worked with too. Like I love doing that. I mean, if I'm, if it's somebody that I work with and I talk to all the time, I love to go and meet them in person if I have the opportunity. So I love doing that. And I think that fandom just gives you it's a great excuse to travel, and do things with people. So I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely does. It definitely does.
Yeah. So I'm just looking to see if there's anything else that you can think of to talk about along these lines. I love it that being a fan of something, and for me especially, I've always been for years now. I mean, even more than the Marvel, I've been a huge fan of Star Wars, which we're both into.
Mm-hmm.
And I've gone to Star Wars Celebration several times. And it's always, I mean, I usually travel alone, but I always either know other people that are going, and it's so easy to make friends there. Like if you like the same thing and you're there for the same reason, you have something in common. And it's like just like a great, even for people, like I'm an introvert, but I wouldn't say I'm really shy. Like I'm willing to talk to people. And I think if you are that sort of person that even if you normally don't talk to a lot of people or you're not that outgoing, I think that if you're a fan of something and you know about it and you go somewhere or you find a place, a space where there are people that like it as well, then it makes it easier for you to connect with those people. And I think it makes it easier to make friends.
Right. And being an extrovert, it can be harder to connect. An introvert, I mean, because I typically am an extrovert. I feel like after COVID, maybe after my mom passed in 2018 and then COVID, and there's things that have happened that have kind of changed how social that I am as far as actually going and doing things with my friends. I still do them, just not as often like as I used to. But I'm still extroverted enough. And I like to think that you're one of the introverts that I kind of adopted. Like, but I don't think we still haven't been to a convention together, have we? A con.
No, we haven't. We should do that. We should do that sometime.
I wanted to go to that last the last Star Wars Celebration you went to because you got to see Pedro there and you were just feet away when he was on the stage. I would have died.
You guys should totally go to the next one. It's not this year, it's next year. And I feel like they're going to have big things because it's the 50th anniversary of A New Hope, of the first Star Wars movie.
Is that going to be back in Anaheim?
It's in Anaheim. It's in Anaheim.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe we will.
Yeah. So that would be so much fun to do together.
Matt and I finally went to a convention out of state, and which I knew I was going to like. We went to Dallas to Fan Expo over there because they had
I think I remember that. Yeah.
And I knew I was going to like it. I didn't know about him, but he ended up really enjoying it. And it was tough because we had a bunch of time off of work already scheduled. So we didn't have, but like, I think we took off a Friday and a Monday or something like that. And so we just went out there to Texas just, for a few days. But it was pretty cool. And it allowed us to meet some people, some celebrities that don't really come to the ones that are close to us. Like even Fan Expo, San Francisco, like, They got some names. They even had Gillian Anderson this past
Yeah,
November.
they
We
had
didn't
some
end
good
up
ones this
going,
time, I
but
think.
we didn't end up going to that one. But just, I'd always wanted to do it, and it was enough to convince him because, Leah Thompson was going to be there. That's all he had to see. That was his little
You know,
teenage crush back in the day. So that was fun.
I met her.
But
I don't know if I ever told you the story of when I met her. So when I lived in Arizona, I used to go to the Phoenix Film Festival.
okay.
I have some good friends now that live in, actually, there was one year that I went. I'll get to the Leah Thompson, but aside from that, this is another story that's a good story. But like one year I went and I was looking up the movies that I was going to see. And I came across this independent film and they had a Twitter account. And so I kind of started talking to them on Twitter. And so then when I went to see that movie at the festival, I met the people. I met like the director and I ended up everybody hangs out around like where the movie theater is, where all the movies are. And there's a bar there. And so I got to talking to them and I got to know some of the people in the movie. And it's just this independent film, but the people that are in it are like actors that live in LA. And the coolest thing in the world now is like, to me, I will be watching a show on TV and it'll pop up with one of those actors, like a bit part in like a TV show or something. And I love when that happens and I'll be like, oh, I know them. And it's just then, it's fun. I haven't seen them a lot since then, but
That's cool.
I still consider them good friends. But then Leah Thompson. So same, Phoenix Film Festival. I went to see a movie and every now and then they'll get like a big star that's there like that because they're in one of the independent films. And she was in one of the independent films and I went to see it and I didn't realize it. I got there early and I go to like sit in kind of not the front row of the movie theater, but like, how they have like the aisle kind of in the middle and then they'll have a row behind that and then it goes up. So they'll have like 3 or 4 rows and then they'll kind of have an aisle behind those rows and then they'll have like more rows. Like you're sitting at the railing. So I went in and I was going to sit at that first row right behind the railing. So I kind of like climbed over a couple people and went to sit down and then people started telling me, oh, this is reserved. So I got up and then went back a row. Realized right before the movie started that Leah Thompson was one of the people that I had climbed over to get into that row because she was in the movie and that was reserved for like her family and friends. And so she was standing over to the side before the movie. Yeah, she was standing over to the side before the movie started. And so I was like, oh my God. And I realized, who it was. And so I'm like, I'm going to get up and go talk to her. So I finally, right before the movie started, she was standing off to the side and I got up and went to talk to her and got like kind of a crappy picture, but I went and got a picture with her. And that's how I met her, was like totally kind of randomly at that movie that she was in Phoenix. But that was fun.
That's a great story,
so that's funny.
That's a great story. I love that. She's a sweet person.
Yeah, she was really nice. Yeah. There's so many that's one thing I love about it is I have so many stories from being a part of a fandom, whether it is making new friends that end up being really good long distance friends. And like, I might travel and see them or, continue to talk to them or like have our COVID movie nights. And then at the conventions themselves, you end up with just such good stories, even just talking to people in line that you may never see again.
Always.
Yeah, it's so cool. My friend Sarah, she lives in LA now, but she's traveling, I think. I don't even know what country she's in right now. She was in London last I checked. But she randomly met, I don't know what year this was, but I think she ended up going to one of the Star Wars celebrations that was in Orlando because she used to live there. And she went into kind of an out of the way bathroom that wasn't one of the real busy bathrooms that everybody was going to off of the convention floor. And went to the bathroom and she was washing her hands and Carrie Fisher came out of the stall like right next to her. And so she has this adorable, this is such a great story that I show her picture to people and I'm like, this is my friend. She met Carrie Fisher. And she just has this.
See, the same thing with your picture with Hiddleston and Evans. I show that. Look at my lucky friend. Look at this sandwich.
I love that picture so much.
I show that picture off to people just like, this is my friend. This is my only claim to fame. My friend got to do this. Look at this lucky.
That's like one of my favorite photos ever. Yeah. I remember walking away from that photo being like, oh my God, did that just happen? Like that was the best hug ever. But yeah, like I don't even think that Sarah talked to Carrie other than to just ask her for a picture. And Carrie just came up like next to her and Carrie put her head on her shoulder. She's like laying on her shoulder. So she's got this picture where she's basically cuddling with Carrie Fisher, which is awesome and such a great
It's
story.
amazing. I would die.
Yeah.
She was at
And
the
then of
first
course,
celebration I went to. Carrie Fisher was there, and we wanted to go. I wanted to go get a picture with her, but at the time I was like, I'll come back and do it. I'm not going to do it, and I never did. Then that was like the year before she passed, so
yeah,
I never got another chance. So that sucks. So take the chance, people. Just
for
do it.
sure. Yeah. Yeah, because that was one of the years, I had been to Star Wars Celebration a couple of times when I lived in Indiana because they used to have it there. But it was usually just like a one-day thing with a friend, or I think once I didn't even pay to go. I think I just went with a friend that had a ticket and we went to the exhibit hall. But the first one I really remember going to was in Anaheim. It was 2015. And when I first heard about it, like, did that one, I can't remember if I might have gotten press passes somehow. Like I applied for press passes and got press passes for it. But I remember planning it and being like, oh, I'm going to take this cool Star Wars poster that I have on my wall and get everybody to sign it. And then I found out how much they charge you for the autographs. And I was like, well,
That's
that's not going to happen. Maybe I'll start with 2 of them. And I did. And it was Carrie Fisher and Peter Mayhew, who have both now passed. So I'm glad that I have both of them on there. But it was the year before Carrie Fisher passed. And so I'm so glad that not only I ended up getting her autograph. So I met her, have a story from meeting her, being in line. I will never forget being in line for her autograph. And then my friend Sarah, same friend.
We were both at that Star Wars Celebration and just didn't know it.
Yeah.
So that's crazy how that works out too.
Yeah, same friend Sarah. She ended up going too with her son Elliot, and I surprised them and I bought a photo op with Carrie Fisher and Peter Mayhew, which is also one of my very favorite pictures.
I've seen it.
And did not tell Sarah what we were doing. And I didn't tell her, like, we were just in a line, like, and her son realized first what we were doing. And he's like, oh, we're in line they had labeled it the Skywalker twins. And, oh, we're in line for the Skywalker twins. And she still thought we were just meeting like people dressed up as Luke and Leia. And her son's like, no, we're meeting the actual actors and everything. And it's a fun picture and it's great memories. And that was really cool. So
that's cool.
Yeah. Then Carrie was at that 2016 X-Files convention, the Wizard World. It wasn't actually an X-Files convention. It was just celebrities, and they happened to do like an X-Files package because they got so many actors from X-Files there. But she was kind of the one-off actors from another fandom that was also there. I think I saw her there, but I had just met her the year before, so I didn't, get an autograph or a picture or anything. Now I wish I had, because it would have been cool to meet her again. But I'm glad that I met her when I did. Yep.
That's good you did.
All right. Yeah. Well, any other takeaways? Yeah.
I think for me, the biggest takeaway is, if you have a fandom that you're big into, meet other people that share that fandom, because
it's a good way to
especially
connect.
if your significant other isn't into it, there's somebody that you can share it with. If you don't have any of your in-person friends or your significant other, finding friends online that are in that fandom is, it's a way to keep enjoying it. And even years later, like we are, it's, and you can end up with really good friends. I have at least 3 fandoms I've come out of with good friends. So
yeah, same.
And they're their interests that, obviously my husband doesn't share, because 2 of them are, 2 actors that are, that's a hot actor. I'm gonna start
actors that he
him.
doesn't have a crush on.
Yep. The new kids are just my jam from back in the day. Them, I've met them so many times that my girls still talk about like how that one still they still have their little. I'm like, they're more like friends to me now. I couldn't imagine doing anything.
How long have
with
you known them? New kids are popular back in like the 90s, like when they were real big.
I met these girls.
Have you had your friends that long?
No, I met my closest friends. The 3 closest, I met 2 of them in 2013 and the other one in 2014. The other 2 already knew the one that I met last. And we ended up, because it was when they did Vegas the first time, and they just did they were just there for like a week or 5 days, something like that. And we all decided to go. And I had already met the other 2 at a New Kids show. I don't remember if we did anything else in between the two. And I just went to go to Vegas and stay in Vegas for a few days with these three ladies that I actually didn't really know that well at the time. But I guess I trusted my gut, you know? And maybe not everybody can trust their gut. Me personally, it's get to know the person online and, talk through social media and then exchange numbers when you're comfortable and then
Yeah.
plan in-person meetings when you're comfortable. And everybody's different about it. I've just, I guess, had good luck. That's how I met my husband back in 1994. Married for almost 27 years now. So my record's
Congratulations.
pretty good. I got a pretty good record
Yeah.
with meeting people online for the most part. Just, I mean, we only get this one life, go out and make those fandom friends and enjoy that together and make the memories is what I always say.
I like to see the best in people, I think, which, I mean, I don't know, maybe knock on wood, so far that's never come back to really bite me, but it could. We have local friends here and maybe I'll cover this more on the podcast at some point, but like we have local friends that we met here, and we met them originally because it's another couple and he was posting in the Palm Springs Reddit. I've made friends, like a couple of good friends through Reddit. I met Teresa through Reddit because she was on the Tom Hiddleston Reddit. And had been at the same convention in Seattle, And then
you guys have traveled. You guys went to overseas and everything.
Yeah, we went to London to see Tom Hiddleston in a play there. And so my local friends that I met here, we met on the Palm Springs Reddit, and we were just talking about somebody was looking for like craft beer places or people that were into craft beer, and they were into craft beer. And we connected because we're like, oh, there's several of us that are like in our 40s and we're into beer. And I was like, oh, we should hang out. So he and I like exchanged kind of DMs, and we followed each other on Instagram, and we would go back and forth and be like, hey, let's do that. We never could quite hook up. And then one day I knew what they looked like because I had been following their Instagram. And Ricky and I went into a Home Depot here, and we went in there to get some stuff. He went in there to get something, and he went to get what he came for, and I went to the bathroom. Well, while I'm walking to the bathroom, I go down this aisle and I see this couple, and I'm like, oh my God, I know you guys from Instagram. And so we talked back and forth for a few minutes, and then he went and paid for his stuff, and so he didn't even get to meet them then. He was already out in the car. But then after that, we finally did manage, like we still kept trying to make plans and missing each other. And then finally one day they're like, look, do you just want to come over to our house and hang out at the pool? And so we did, and it worked out. And we see them like at least once a week now, usually. So it's just, the internet is, I'm if I feel like I connect with somebody, then I'm usually a very trusting person. And, maybe that'll come back and bite me in the butt one day, but I hope not. But so far it's not. So far, I'm okay.
If you know what to look for, if you know, like,
yeah,
the warning signs, if you know what to look for, because it's the internet's been around so long, and you could see it on the news, or what's that one show, To Catch a Predator? If you know the signs to look for, and
oh my goodness,
when something's fishy, I'd like to think that my gut is a good judge, and I'm a good judge to know if something's off, because I've had people I've met online and it was immediately like, no. But yeah, just, it's about even sometimes getting outside of your comfort zone, maybe. And if you're lucky like us, like me and Cheryl,
you could make some good friends from it, for sure.
Yes, it's been,
8 years.
8 years? 8 years it'll be this year, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah. But it's been good. Yeah, like I said, even worked out to where we had a place to stay during the fire, and everything. And we had no idea, like, when we first started talking, I lived in Florida and you lived in California. We didn't know if we'd ever meet each other in person, And now
it just happened that Ricky's job took him out here, so.
Yeah, and now we're going to Disneyland again together next month, so.
Yeah.
So we'll see each other.
Yep, that'll be good. Yeah. We'll do that. We'll do some things in Hollywood, but we, even if it's just once a year, we see each other in person once in a while, and the rest of the time is text, even if you don't text every single day. The thought is
or
still
watching
there.
The Night Manager together.
Exactly.
So, all right. Well, I think we covered pretty much everything that we mostly talked about.
Yeah.
I think
almost
that
an hour.
fandom is definitely, Yeah. Fandom has been I'm glad that I'm a fan of the things that I am because like I
Me
said, I
too.
think everybody's into something and it's a good avenue to meet people and find like-minded friends that you never know could last a lifetime. So
Yep, exactly.
thank you for being on the podcast, for being my first guest, and for
Of
watching The
course.
Night Manager with me. I appreciate it. You're kind of like I said, I've never done this with a guest and had the little studio thing going on at the same time. So this will be fun. Hopefully
But how
people will like
cool.
it.
It's very cool. I feel important
And you get to live your bucket list item of being on a podcast.
yep, being on somebody's podcast, number 30. Checked off.
There you go. All right. Well, thanks everyone for listening. I hope you have enjoyed this. Reach out to me and let me know if you have fandoms that you're interested in and if you've met friends that way, and would love to hear your stories as well. So again, thanks Stephanie for joining me, and I hope you guys will subscribe and follow and keep listening. Thank you. Bye.